Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel a couple of times before. Now, the last review that I did from this brewery came a couple of weeks ago, and that beer was really nice. That was one of the styles that this brewery has really made a strong reputation for themselves with. But the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a different style, completely different, and this is the other style that this brewery has built a very good reputation for themselves with. This one is also a little bit of a special occasion beer, and it has a little bit of a twist to it that you don't often find these days when it comes to this particular style category. So I think it should be quite interesting. Needless to say, I'm very, very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to the US. Like I said, we're going to the northeast of the country, to New York State, out to the west of New York State, and to a little place called Avon, which is just to the kind of south of Rochester. So that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from Mortalis Brewing Company. This one is called Lunar Hydra, Year of the Dragon. It comes in at 7% ABV. This one is a smoothie sour with dragon fruit, mango and pineapple added into the brew. So yeah, not all that often that you find a dragon fruit smoothie sour these days, and that was the main reason that this one kind of caught my eye. So this is yet another beer that I picked up from the wonderful Gur Beer in the One Malt in Chimshatri here in Hong Kong. They had a bunch of the Hydra beers, but this one just kind of caught my eye simply for the fact that it had dragon fruit in it. The other ones were all kind of berry sours and mango sours and stuff like that, things you can find quite regularly. But yeah, this one was a wee bit different, so I thought we would go for this. But yeah, make sure you check out the link to their Facebook page in the video description below. They've always got some really, really interesting stuff at Gur Beer, of course. But let's crack on with this one then and see how we get on. The last beer we tried from this brewery was Adonis, which was that big, beastly imperial stout, but they are very well known for these smoothie sours too, so very curious. Anyway, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Mortalis Brewing Company before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the American playlist along with a number of other things. That's being added to quite regularly, of course, since we get a very good selection of American stuff here in Hong Kong. And as always, make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries too, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Mortalis Brewing Company once again then. So, Mortalis Brewing Company, as I mentioned to you a minute ago, are based in Avon in the state of New York in the northeastern US, which you'll find just a little bit to the south of Rochester. But the brewery was founded back in 2017 by a group of 5 co-owners. So this is Paul Grenier, Gretchen Salber Grenier, Dave Luckenbach, Sissy Salber Luckenbach, and also Jason Kiefer, who is Paul's childhood friend. So Paul and Dave met through their wives, and they shared an interest in beers, so they began to homebrew together, which they did for about 10 years prior to establishing Mortalis. But Melissa is the brewery account specialist, Gretchen is the operations officer, and Jason is the chief financial officer and legal counsel for the company. So they've got quite a lot of skills in there, I have to say. But they participated in a competition called Brew in Livingston Business Plan competition that was started by the Livingston County Economic Development Office, and this secured them some state funds for their brewery. But they also received funding from a Kickstarter campaign that raised $31,000 $100,000, and they started out with a very small 5-barrel brewing system. I think that's in the region of like 750 litres in the metric system, if I'm not mistaken, and they also had a 1-barrel pilot system for brewing very small experimental batches. But the brewery went on to open its doors in August of 2018, and they soon added Josh Bauerlein to the brewing team, who had many years of home brewing experience. But over the course of 2019, they produced around 1,000 barrels, which is around 160,000 litres, and over the last few years they've been building up that brewery capacity and travelling to different beer festivals and building a very strong reputation for mainly their sour beers and for their big imperial stouts as well. But they very recently added Joey Lonig to the brewing team, and they are continuing to experiment with different styles. I saw now that they have a few different series of beers. They've got their stouts, they've got sours, they've got a series of IPAs, and they've also got, I forget what it was called, but they've got a series of beers that are basically classic styles. So they say they brew, you know, German Pilsners and Scotch ales and stuff like this. It'd be very cool to try a Scotch ale from these guys at some point in the future. I always like trying my native beer style from different countries. But as of May 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 615 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that number will no doubt continue to rise. But of course, the very sought after ones from Mortalis are the big imperial stouts and the kind of smoothie sour beers. But yeah, that is everything that I can tell you about Mortalis Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the beer itself. So I'll let you have a wee look at the artwork on this one before we open up. As you can see, it has this typical constellation style artwork that we've come to know from Mortalis. I do like it actually, but there you can see the Chinese dragon, and he's at the front as well. There are two different types of Chinese dragon. I forget what the names of them are, but I learned that recently from one of my local friends. But you can see plain silver top on the can there. This one incidentally is 473 millilitres, 16 fluid ounces in the American Freedom Unit system, but yeah, 1 American pint for the most part. But yeah, the Hydra series is a series of sour beers, and this one, like I say, just kind of caught my eye because it was brewed for the Chinese New Year and it had dragon fruit in it. So yeah, looks nice. But I'll just let you have a wee look at the side of it there. You can see all the things, Lunar Hydra, and it's got the Chinese characters as well. But yeah, this one, 7% smoothie sour, dragon fruit, mango and pineapple in this one. I think it should be really quite interesting. So let's get this guy out into the glass and we'll see what it's all about. If I can get my finger under the pool, there we go. Always very careful with opening these because sometimes they can get a little bit excited. But yeah, I think this is going to be quite interesting. So, ooh, that looks very nice. The colour in this one will of course be coming from that lovely dragon fruit. I think we'll leave the rest of it in the can for the moment so we can get a nice head on it later. But before that head disappears, you can see that it poured with about a half finger of a frothy kind of pink tinged head there. Just look at that. You can see some nice foamy bubbles on the top of the head, but then yeah, it gets a little bit more medium sized the further down that you go, and you can see some of those bubbles just going up towards the bottom of that head there as well. But it looks pretty nice, this one. So yeah, as you can see, this beer has poured a lovely, very bright pink dragon fruit colour. I think that's most definitely fair to say. Very bright. Could you call this a very bright burgundy or candy apple red or something like that? Not 100% sure, but still the colour of this one looks very, very nice. You can see it's pretty much opaque as hell, which will be due to the presence of oat and wheat and things like that in the malt base. Smoothie sours do tend to have this kind of really soupy, gloopy, high opacity kind of appearance. But yeah, the colour of this beer, remember the colour of your beer is down to a few different things. One, the different types of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar is caramelised, thus you get a darker coloured beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. And when it comes to the kind of modern, fruity, smoothie, Nordic, whatever we're going to call them, sour beers, the modern Berliner Weisses and gozes and stuff like this as well, the fruit adjuncts that you put into these beers is going to play a big role, and that is quite obviously the case with this one. You know, the mango and the pineapple would give you a kind of straight up yellow, bright yellow sour, but yeah, the dragon fruit is the one giving you pretty much all the colour in this beer. Yeah, so I don't know if we really need to say much else about the appearance of this one. I think we can go on and have a wee look at the nose of this beer and see what it's all about. I'm very curious about this. Ooh, that smells as if it's going to be good. Now, I've been spoiled for smoothie sours over the last few years because in Sweden we had, you know, Duck Pond, Fermenterarna and Elma Livin. Those were three really, really good Swedish sour beer producers. And then in Scotland, of course, we had Vault City and Holy Goat, although they weren't so much smoothie sour producers, more kind of sweet modern sour producers. But yeah, here in Hong Kong, we have One Drop from Australia, who for me have kind of replaced the three Swedish ones that I was missing. But if Mortalis are coming in regularly, just from the kind of vibes I'm getting from this particular smoothie sour, these guys might join One Drop as being one of my other regulars on the channel. But yeah, that smells really nice. And with a number of the kind of sour beers that I've had recently, a lot of them have been a little bit more, they just haven't been quite as creamy and smooth. And I love the big creamy smoothie, the creamy smooth smoothie sour beers. I like all kind of sour beers, to be quite honest with you, but you know, there's just something about these modern smoothie sours and that kind of yogurty creamy backbone that they have that I love. And this beer smells as if it's going to be like that. Very often these beers are quite simple in terms of their aroma profile and flavour profile, but if they're done well, they can be absolutely great. So yeah, I've got a feeling this beer is going to prove to be very, very nice. So yeah, let's just break that aroma down then and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. So for me, the backbone of this beer, you've got a lovely fresh kind of white bready bread crust in there. You know, there's little hints of cracker and wee bits of wood and stuff, as you often get, but yeah, fluffy white bread. Above that you can smell like a smoother wheaty character for sure. The wheat is acting really as a smoothing agent in this one. As I've mentioned in many videos before, American wheat tends to be very smooth. European wheat is a little bit kind of drier and more bitey almost. So I'm quite curious to try this because we haven't had too many straight up American smoothie sours. But yeah, as I say, the kind of smooth, yeah, the sort of, I would say, the big kind of yogurty character that you get out of this one is great. So you can smell the creaminess of the oats in there, and it almost gives you like this petit filou yogurty type character to the beer as well. So yeah, you've got bread crust in there. Yeah, you've got bread crust in the base, little bit of cracker, little tiny bit of wood, fluffy white bread, more dense wheaty character in there. Then you've got the oaty creaminess and that big sort of yogurty note coming out of it. So yeah, above that you do get a little hint of like a Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. But all in all, the aroma coming out of this beer on the malty side of things is very, very promising. And as I say, I want this big yogurty type character to these beers. Yeah, other than that, I don't know if there's too much to say on the malty side of things. Yeah, so on the kind of green side of this beer, as we always put it, now when it comes to hopping modern sour beers like this, we need to say a few things. So back in the day when we were having mainly Huises, you know, Lambics and stuff like this, the Flanders Reds, these old school Belgian sour beers, what they used to do with those was they would add older hops into them that had lost a little bit of their alpha acid potency, with the idea that this would not take away from the sourness of the beer, because you know, bitterness will take away some of that sourness. With the modern sours like this, there is an argument that you shouldn't bother putting hops into the beer, because you know, when you add fruit into the beer, that's going to suppress the hoppy side, the hoppy character anyway. Some breweries like to do it to add that little bit of complexity, some don't, and I found that it kind of varies from country to country. You know, the breweries I mentioned from Scotland a minute ago, they like to put the hops in the sour beers, whereas if you go to Sweden, they don't. So yeah, I'm guessing from the aroma of this one that they don't, because you know, the green component just doesn't have that little bit of pungency and a little bit of spice to it, but there is still a little bit of placebo effect going on in this one. So if you smell the beer, it's got, if you smell the beer in this one, it's got a teeny little bit of smooth earthiness to it, little touch of floral note, but quite a bit of grassiness, I would say, in that green placebo element. So yeah, for me, the green component in this one, I think, is really, really nice. So it just gives you that little bit of placebo, but obviously that's kind of drowned out by the sheer juiciness of the fruit in this one. There is almost like a wee touch of vanilla coming out of this beer as well, which is interesting. So yeah, I like this. I think we're just filming at an awkward time of the day. I'm filming this one just before I go out for lunch on Saturday. So yeah, getting all the kind of midday light. It's a bit awkward actually for filming. I should have put my towel up again to darken it out. But yeah, the fruity side of this one is really nice. You're getting that big, juicy dragon fruity character out of this one, which is very, very distinctive. It's almost like, I've always found dragon fruit gives you a little bit, it's like a combination. It's got the juiciness of strawberry, but it's almost a little bit more like a raspberry flavour, if that makes sense, with maybe just a little bit of the cherry, a little bit of cherry character too. So that's really interesting in this one. But yeah, underneath that you can smell the mango and the pineapple. The mango gives you like a very soft backbone, and you can feel a wee bit of the more oily pineapple in there. But obviously the dragon fruit is the thing that's really dominating the aroma of this beer. So yeah, I really like. I do really like how the aroma of this one kind of pieces together. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, I don't know if we really need to say too much more about the aroma of this beer. Like I said, when it comes to these smoothie sours, quite often they're very straightforward in terms of their aroma and flavour profiles, but if they're done well, they're absolutely beautiful to drink. So let's get the rest of this out into the glass. Oh, you can see there's a little bit of sediment there at the bottom, and that head is just coming up nicely. But yeah, we got most of the sediment. There's no sediment really visible on the bottom of the can after that. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. So this one is the Lunar Hydra Year of the Dragon, 7% smoothie sour, dragon fruit, pineapple and mango in it, from Mortalis Brewing Company in Avon, New York, over America. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that is very, very nice. Yeah, I think we need to try more from this. We need to try more from the Mortalis Hydra series, that's for sure. Yeah, I think this is very, very nicely done. What I'll say about this one in comparison to the one drops and the Swedish ones that I've mentioned earlier, this one just feels a little touch. It feels a little bit lighter actually. It feels a bit more like a kind of drinking yogurt rather than being really, really thick and creamy. So yeah, the malt base in this one is quite different, but very, very nice this one actually. So big thumbs up to Mortalis for this. A lot of people have been telling me I need to try one of these Mortalis smoothie sours, and they certainly were not wrong. This is very good. So yeah, it gives you everything you'd expect, to be quite honest with you. I can see I'm getting a bit more carbonation out of it now that I've put the whole beer into the glass, and you can see it is sweating a little bit because we're just in the middle of the day and it's, you know, we're getting toward the summer in Hong Kong. Looking forward to it cooling down again. But yeah, let's let's break this beer down basically and describe it a bit more in depth. But it gives you everything you want. That big creamy malt base, little touch of kind of green placebo effect, then you've got all the fruity character coming out of it. This is lovely. So good. Yeah. Middle third of your palate then. With this beer, you can feel, when you get into the aftertaste with this beer, you will find, like I say, this beer is very much like kind of drinking yogurt. Reminds me actually of some, I forget what they were called in Sweden, but yeah, this beer really reminds me just of drinking yogurt. But the base of the beer, you had a lovely little bit of like fresh white bready bread crust in the base. Then as you move further forward, there's a wee touch of like woodiness to this one as well. Yeah, so little touch of woodiness, little touch of cracker. Yeah, fresh white bready bread crust, a little bit of woodiness, a little bit of cracker. Then on top of that, you have all of the yeah, you've got this kind of fluffy, you can feel this layer of like fluffy fresh white bread, but then above that you start to get everything else. So you can feel there's like a dense smooth wheaty bready character there, but then you're getting all the oaty creaminess, and this, yeah, you're getting all the oaty creaminess in this one, and you're also getting, yeah, you're getting all the oaty creaminess, and then this kind of yogurty character coming out of it. So yeah. So yeah, lovely kind of yogurty creaminess out of this one in there. It is really like petit filou. It's like one of these kind of strawberry, raspberry, yogurty sort of things. But obviously, the dragon fruit, for me, it really has the juiciness of the strawberry, but more of a kind of raspberry-like flavour. That's really kind of what I get out of it, to be honest with you. But yeah, like I say, you've got that yogurty kind of character, you've got the oaty creaminess in the base, the more yogurty character in there, and in the dead centre of your palate you get a little circle there where you have a kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy note coming out of the beers. So yeah, the way that all of that goes together in this one, I think, is very, very nice. So yeah, all in all, I would say the malt base on this one is really lovely, but a wee bit different, as I say, not quite as thick and creamy as some of the ones, more like a kind of drinking yogurt rather than being like a big sort of fruit smoothie, ice cream smoothie type thing. But I like it, I do really like that. So that's the middle third of the palate covered. Let's go to the back third of the palate, and remember that generally speaking with your palate, sweeter flavours will come out further forward, more dry and bitter flavours and stuff will come out further back, and the back third of your palate will give you very similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. So yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of fluffy white bread in the base, and then you can feel above that the kind of more dense wheaty white bread. But yeah, the base of that white bready bread crust in there, it's just that little touch drier. You do get a wee bit of cracker above that. You can feel the fluffy white bread in there. That layer is a lot taller and lighter and more airy, which I really like, and then you get the more dense wheaty white bready character above that, which again is a little bit taller, lighter and more airy, and you can feel some of the oaty dry characters, the dryness of the oats just creeping over the top of that malty side of the back third of the palate. Then you've got the yeasty side of it coming out. So let's focus on that yeasty note. So yeah, the yeasty side of the beer, for me, it's yeah, that yeasty side of the beer for me, it's got this lovely kind of dense white bready character in it. So you can feel that lovely kind of dense, slightly sweet white bready character in the middle. It gets a little bit drier and more rustic further out, and then you've got that white bready bread crust that just surrounds it actually. So yeah, the way all of that comes together on the yeasty side of things, it's quite nice actually. It just gives the beer a little bit of almost dryness in the top of the palate on the back third. But yeah, I like that, definitely. Back third of the palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, I think the way that goes together is really, really nice. The malty and yeasty side of this beer is really good. Let's go to the hoppy side of things and the fruity side of the beer then. So I mentioned about you know, the kind of placebo effect and things of adding or not adding hops into these beers, into these smoothie sours. So let's address that at the moment. You know, I get the feeling from this one that there could be a little bit of hop in it, because it gives you just a little touch of kind of bitterness and stuff into the aftertaste. So I think there might be a little bit of hop in this one, but very little, and the fruit obviously is suppressing that green component. But in the back corners of the palate, there's a teeny little bit of earthiness there, a little bit of herbal character, and as you push further forward from that, you've got some nice floral aromaticity, good little bit of grassiness in there. And yeah, that is, of course, it's the dragon fruit, I think, that's suppressing all of this. I mean, around the edges of your palate, the dragon fruit, you get that nice raspberry, that mix of raspberry and strawberry type flavour, which is your dragon fruit, of course. So yeah, I do like that as well. Let's look at the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of things. So the border region between front and middle third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of kind of bready build up in there, white bread in the base, the more dense wheaty white bread on top. Then the base of that front third of your palate, yeah, you know, fresh white bready bread crust in there, a more, pardon me, yeah, a more fluffy white bread, then a dense sweety character, a bit of the oaty creaminess. You get a really, really lovely smooth sweet oaty creaminess. It almost gives you a little hint of vanilla in the front third of your palate. Then you've got all the fruity characters coming in above that. I think there's maybe a little bit, if there is hop in this one, it's giving you a little slight sultana type flavour. There is a little bit of that oily bubble, hoppy fruity S in there, which is almost like kind of sultana, like dry white green grapes. So I'm getting a little bit of that out of this beer, but then yeah, the fruity adjuncts are coming in on top of that. So let's look at those. Yeah, so for me, when the beer comes in, the dragon fruit is obviously dominating the flavour here, but yeah, you get a bit of the mango. In this one, you can feel the mango sort of sits back and sits on top of that little oily hoppy bubble that I was talking about. And then further forward, I think, than that, you're getting a wee bit of the oily pineapple. But yeah, you've got the wetness and the juiciness of the dragon fruit just sitting on top of everything and then spreading round the edges of your palate, which is very, very nice. I really do like the flavour of dragon fruit, actually. It's right up my street. But I love berry sours as well. You know, it's very common in Scotland and Sweden and things. So I love my berry sours. So to be honest, it's not really a surprise that I enjoy the dragon fruit sours as well. So yeah, this is good. This is very, very nice. So big thumbs up to Mortalis for this one. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more we really need to say about the flavour profile of this. It is really, really nice. Yeah, let's round off with a wee look at the mouthfeel then. So like I said earlier, this beer, it's not the thickest of smoothie sours that I've come across, but it's got a really nice consistency to it. It's like that kind of drinking yogurt that you can get in many places. So yeah, in terms of smoothie sours, I would say it's one of the lighter ones that I've kind of come across. But I think in the general part of the spectrum, if we talk about the modern sour beers, it's kind of mid-body. The carbonation is very, very smooth in this one. It has a bit of silkiness to it and a little bit of creaminess. Like I say, drinking yogurt probably describes the consistency of this beer quite well. In terms of the IBU count in this beer, I'm guessing that technically it will be 0. But yeah, I'm guessing technically it will be 0. But there's maybe, 5 IBUs out of this one or something like that. But the base of that middle third of your palate, yeah, you've got a kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. You've got a wee bit of Jacob's cream cracker as well, and yeah, fresh white bready bread crust, a little bit of Jacob's cream cracker, and then above that, yeah, fluffy white bread, more dense white bread. You're getting all of these kind of things. So you've got a bit of smoothness there in the middle of your palate. You get the creaminess on top and just that little touch of sweetness into the aftertaste as well. So yeah, a little bit of dryness underneath, smoothness in the middle, and then creaminess and slight sweetness on top. Wee bit of sweetness coming out into the aftertaste as well. But yeah, the way that all of this goes together, I think, is very, very nice. Yeah, malty base is good. Like I say, you get a little bit of hoppy green placebo out of this one, but yeah, a lot of the fruit in this beer is very juicy, and I think that's down to the dragon fruit. The mango and the pineapple in this one do give you a little bit of softness, but yeah, obviously the focus of this beer is certainly on the dragon fruit. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. This has been a really, really interesting beer to try, and I've certainly enjoyed trying my first smoothie sour from Mortalis, because these ones have a very good reputation. So yeah, let's leave it at that. This one was the Lunar Hydra 7% smoothie sour from Mortalis Brewing Company in Avon, near Rochester in Western New York State in America. A 7% dragon fruit, pineapple and mango smoothie sour. Lovely stuff, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. It's made me very curious about the other beers in this series. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Mortalis Brewing Company as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again in the near future. But until the next time, check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you again with another beer review very, very soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and ciao just now.